Let's go over a simple investment strategy that, frankly, is within reach for almost anyone who truly commits to it. I want you to think of yourself as the CEO of your household, and you're directing your money to go to different places, to different buckets. We're going to assume you have already tackled a big beast of high interest debt and you're debt free. Now, with that foundation set, let me show you a straightforward path to hitting your first $1 million based on different income levels and how you can make a plan, create a saving strategy, and automate your way to that 7 figure mark. And because getting rich slowly is still getting rich. Now, you might be thinking, if it's so simple, why doesn't everyone do it? And that's a fair question. The truth is, while the steps are simple, the consistency and patience required are not always easy. It's like losing weight. The exercises are simple, but sticking to them for years is the challenge. The core idea, as Ryan Victorin from Fidelity puts it, is that it can happen over time with a consistent, repeatable process. Most people who achieve this make a plan, create a saving strategy, and then crucially, automate their savings. After that, it really just comes down to executing the plan and refining it over the years. It truly is about dedication and commitment, and that starts with knowing exactly where your money can go to work for you. So, with that in mind, I want you to remember that you have several buckets that you can throw your money into, each of its own unique tax advantages. Think of these as your wealth building arsenal. And first up, let's talk about your 401k. Many of you probably already have one through your employer, and this is typically your first and biggest bucket. You need to find out if your employer offers both a traditional and a Roth 401k. This is crucial because it gives you flexibility with your taxes. If you combine marginal tax rate, let's say that's your federal plus your state income taxes is below 24%, then you generally cannot go wrong by putting your money into the Roth 401k. The money goes in after tax, but then all your qualified withdrawals in retirement, including all those years of growth, are completely tax free. And it's a beautiful thing. On the flip side, if your current tax rates are above 24%, you might consider putting some of that money into your traditional 401k. That money goes in pre tax, lowering your taxable income for the current year. You will pay taxes on it in retirement, but hopefully you'll be in a lower bucket then, right? And the best strategy for many is a hybrid approach. For example, if you're contributing 10% of your income to your 401k, you could put 5% into a traditional to get an upfront tax break now, and then the other 5% into a Roth for tax-free growth later. And this bucket offers both tax deferred, which is traditional, and tax-free, which is Roth growth, making it incredibly powerful. Next, you absolutely need to open up a Roth IRA. And I'll say this with conviction that every American, regardless of their income level, should have a Roth IRA at a bare minimum. Why? Because it's a pure tax-free growth bucket, and the money goes in after tax, grows tax-free, and comes out completely tax-free in retirement. It's financial independence on steroids. Now, if your income is too high to contribute directly to a Roth IRA, don't despair because you can use the backdoor Roth IRA strategy. And this involves contributing to a traditional IRA, which has no income limits, and then immediately converting it to a Roth IRA. It's a legal IRS approved maneuver, and I have a whole video dedicated to walking you through exactly how to do that. So check the description below if that applies to you. Third, you need to dig into your healthcare coverage. Specifically, I want you to find out if you have a high deductible health plan or HDHP, because if you do, you are eligible to contribute to an HSA or health savings account. If you don't have an HDHP, check with your HR department to see if it's an option during the benefits election season. This bucket is arguably the best tax advantage account out there, often called a triple tax advantage account. And money goes in pre-tax dollars, which lowers your taxable income, grows tax-free, and comes out completely tax-free if used for qualified medical expenses. It's a tax-free bucket for medical expenses. But the thing is, after age 65, it becomes just like a traditional IRA. You can take money out for any reason, and it's only taxed as ordinary income, just like a traditional IRA. This means you can use it for medical expenses, tax-free, or you can use it for anything else you want when you turn 65 by paying federal and state income taxes and no 20% penalty. It's an incredibly flexible and powerful savings tool that not many people know, provided you have an HDHP. Fourth, you should definitely consider opening a taxable brokerage account and think of this as your after tax bucket. And once you have maxed out your other tax advantage accounts, Or if you need access to your money before retirement age without penalty, this is where you put your extra cash to work. And with a standard brokerage account, you can easily deposit money, buy and sell investments, and take advantage of penalty-free and restriction-free withdrawals. And plus, there are no contribution limits. Now, you can either open an individual brokerage account just for yourself or a joint brokerage account with a spouse or another family member. Joint accounts can be useful for simplifying investment management or estate planning with options like joint tenants with rights of survivorship, where the survivor automatically gets the descendant's shares, or tenants in common, where a descendant's share goes to their estate. And some states even have community property accounts for married couples. And many of these accounts also offer features like options trading and margin loans, where you can borrow against your securities. But you don't want to do that unless you know what you're doing. That's what makes it the ultimate flexible savings vehicle for anything beyond your retirement needs. And finally, before you even start throwing money into these buckets, you need to do a brutal, honest assessment of your income, expenses, and debt. If you're serious about achieving financial independence and retiring early, or FIRE, as they call it, you absolutely have to prioritize your investments, but not before you eliminate all your high interest debt. You need to keep your expenses under control. Are you eating out every single day? Do you have a bunch of streaming subscriptions that you never use? Cut the fat, then take a hard look at your income. Are you making $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, or $200,000 a year? Knowing these numbers is your starting point for building your path to your first $1 million. So with those buckets in mind, let's talk about priorities. Where should your hard-earned money go first? It's a simple cascade. The first thing to prioritize is your 401k, especially if it comes with an employer match. This is literally free money, and ignoring it is like leaving free cash on the table. If you contribute, say, 5% of your income to your 401k and your employer contributes another 5%, that's an immediate guaranteed of 100% return on your investment from a match alone. If they contribute 2.5%, that's still a 50% free return. What I want you to do right now is call your HR, log into your benefits portal, or do whatever you need to do to find out exactly how much your employer is matching, and then contribute at least that much to capture every single penny of that free money. Your employer match is that absolute number one priority when it comes to your investment order of operation. Once you've got the employer match from your 401k, or if your employer does not offer a 401k match, the next step is to fund your HSA. If you're not eligible to fund an HSA, meaning you do not have a high deductible health plan, then you can just skip this step. For those who are eligible, the contribution limit for 2026 are quite generous. $4,400 for self-only coverage and $8,750 for family coverage. Plus, if you're 55 or older, you get an additional catch-up contribution of $1,000. Maxing this out gives you that incredible triple tax advantage we just talked about, serving both you, your health, and retirement needs. This HSA can also pay for your Medicare premiums when you turn 65 years old when you're enrolled in Medicare. A lot of people don't know that. And I prioritize HSA over my Roth IRA because it immediately lowers my taxable income after the employer match, or even if you don't have an employer match and you've maxed out your HSA or you don't have an HSA, the next step is to fully fund your Roth IRA. And for 2025, the contribution limit for a Roth IRA is $7,000 with an additional $1,000 catch-up contribution for those age 50 and over. This is your pure tax-free growth engine, and it is critical for building wealth that you won't owe the IRS on in retirement. And get that $7,000 in there if you can. Even if you're watching this in late November or December of 2025, you have until April 15, 2026 to max out your 2025 Roth IRA contributions. When the new 2026 numbers come out, I'll be sure to make a video about it, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't done it already. Once you have secured that employer match, maxed out your HSA, and fully funded your Roth IRA, then I want you to increase your 401k contribution even further. Your ultimate goal is to achieve a 25% savings rate across all your retirement buckets. Your 401k, Roth IRA, and HSA combined. 25% might sound like a lot, but I know for many of you, it is achievable with discipline. Now, let's put some real numbers for this based on different income levels for a single person, because what's possible for one income might be a stretch for another. If you're starting with a $50,000 annual income, achieving that 25% savings rate is going to be tough, and I'm not going to lie. It requires being a super saver and keeping expenses extremely low, but you can start with a more attainable goal, which is to aim for a 15% savings rate initially, and then slowly work your way up as your income goes up. For example, if your employer offers a 5% 401k match and you contribute 5%, that's 10% right there, right? Then, if you manage to put $7,000 into your Roth IRA, which is the maximum limit, that's 14% of your income. Add that to the 5% you contributed to your 401k, and you're at 19%, already well past 15%. If you don't get an employer match, just focus on that Roth IRA first, and then put whatever you can, even just 1%, into your 401k to hit that initial 15% mark. If you have room in your budget, increase your 401k contributions by another 5% to get to 20%. If your expenses are truly low enough to hit 25%, then kudos to you. Then increase your total 401k contributions to 11% plus your $7,000 Roth IRA to reach your goal. That makes sense so far, right? Now, if you're bringing in a $75,000 annual income, that 25% savings rate becomes much more attainable. Let's assume that you're completely debt free. Let's say you again contribute 5% to your 401k and get a 5% employer match. That's 10% right off the top. Then, if you max out your Roth IRA with $7,000, that's about 9% of your income. And if you're eligible, put $4,300 into your HSA accounts for almost 6% of your income. And keep in mind that your HSA contributions will lower your taxes, so you get that money back. And add 10%, which is the 401k match plus contribution, and another 9%, which is the Roth IRA plus 6% from HSA. That's a total of 25% of your income. That's the target. If it's not doable, again, start with the 15% between a Roth IRA or HSA, and then slowly work your way up. Now, if you're at a $100,000 annual income, hitting that 25% savings rate is where you can really start to accelerate your journey to $1 million. And you could potentially retire a lot faster depending on your age. Let's run the numbers. 5% employee 401k contribution plus a 5% employer match equals 10%, right? And maxing out your Roth IRA at $7,000 is 7% of your income, while maxing out your HSA at $4,300 is almost 4.3% of your income in 2025. That gets you to roughly 21.3%. So you just need to contribute another 3.7%, or let's round that up to 4% to your 401k. So when I round it up and say you contribute 9% to your 401k yourself, plus the 5% employer match, that puts you squarely at that 25% savings rate. At $100,000, you have the income power to hit those targets comfortably and supercharge your wealth building. Now, let's talk about the true superpower behind all this, and this is compound interest. This is where your money starts working for you, making more money, which then makes even more money. It's truly the eighth wonder of the world. For these examples, we will assume a conservative 2% annual inflation adjustment and a realistic 8% average annual rate of return on your investments over the long term. Let's revisit our $50,000 income earner with that 15% savings rate. If you consistently contribute $5,000 per year to your 401k, which includes that employer match we discussed, and assume a 2% annual increase in contributions due to salary bumps in 30 years, you will have approximately $822,487 in your 401k. Now, that's not too shabby, right? Then, if you manage to max out your Roth IRA every year with that $7,000 contribution for the next 30 years with a 2% inflation adjustment, you'll have about $1.1 million in your Roth IRA. Combine those two, and you're looking at a total of $1.97 million. That's almost $2 million just by consistently saving 5% to your 401k and maxing out your Roth IRA every single year while making $50,000 a year with a 5% employer match. Now remember, a good chunk of that 401k contribution came from your employer's match, right? Highlighting just how big of a difference it makes that free money can make. But what about our $75,000 income earner with a 15% savings rate? If you save 10% of your income of $7,500 per year into your 401k, including the employer match, with that 2% annual increase, in 30 years, you will have about $1.2 million in your 401k. And add that to the $1.1 million you would have in your Roth IRA in 30 years, you're looking at a total of $2.3 million. Over $2.3 million. That is serious money for a comfortable retirement. Now, let's look at the $100,000 income earner who hits that 25% savings rate, because this is where things really explode. And if you contribute 14% of your income to your 401k, which includes your 5% employer match, or $14,000 per year with that 2% annual inflation rate for increases, in 30 years, you will have about $2.3 million in your 401k. Wow. Then, if you consistently max out your Roth IRA every year for 30 years, that's another $1.1 million in your Roth IRA completely tax-free. And if you are maxing out your HSA every single year, let's say starting in 2025, in 30 years, you would have approximately $707,000 in that incredibly flexible triple tax advantage account. And when you add all those up, your 401k, Roth IRA, and HSA would total a staggering $4.16 million, over $4 million in 30 years. You might be thinking at those numbers, thinking, no way, that can be right. But I'm telling you, it is. Go ahead. Plug those numbers into a compound interest calculator. You can even find one on my website at firesightshare.com/resources and see the magic for yourself. And it's completely free. Now, you might be wondering about that last bucket, which is the taxable brokerage account. As far as how much you should put in this after-tax bucket, that's completely up to you and your individual goals. I always recommend that once you've hit that solid 25% savings rate across your tax advantage retirement accounts, like your 401k, HSA, and Roth IRA, and if you still have extra cash flow, you can start by directing another, let's say 5% of your income to your brokerage account, and then slowly move up to 10% or even 25% if your income allows. If you put more into a taxable brokerage account, it will definitely require a higher level of income if you want to achieve FIRE even faster, because these funds are much more accessible for early retirement without penalty. This is often where people park their bridge money to cover expenses before they can access their retirement accounts penalty free. So where should you invest this money once it's in these buckets? For me, I like keeping things simple. So I choose index funds, and you don't need to pick individual stocks or try to time the market. Index funds, especially the low cost ones, allow you to own a piece of the entire market. They aim to track the performances of a specific index, like the S&P 500. Rather than trying to beat it, this strategy minimizes fees and simplifies your investing. You can invest in an S&P 500 index fund, a small cap index fund, an international growth index fund, or a combination of both. This is not in any form of personalized financial advice. The key is diversification and low cost. As we discussed in a previous video, ETFs, which are often index funds, have dramatically lower expense ratios than many actively managed mutual funds. Fidelity, Schwab, and Vanguard offer some index funds with very low expense ratios. These funds minimize costs like expense ratios, transaction fees, and even bid to ask spreads for highly liquid ETFs. And by keeping fees low, more of your money stays invested and compounds for you. And don't forget the tax implications. If you're investing in a 401k or IRA, taxes on fund distributions are not a big concern, but in a taxable brokerage account, you want to be mindful of tax efficiency. The truth is, the American dream is not dead, not by a long shot. As an immigrant who grew up in a dirt poor family right here in America, I can tell you from personal experience that anyone can do this if they have the discipline, a clear plan, and a commitment to consistently invest their money. You just need to start early, invest consistently, and stay invested. Just because you start in your 40s or 50s, it's never too late. It is never, ever too late. Stay debt free, because that is truly the key to investing in your financial independence. Use index funds or ETFs to keep it simple. Automate your contributions so you don't have to rely on willpower. And most importantly, do not quit when the market gets ugly. Wealth doesn't come from chasing trends. It comes from showing up month after month, year after year. You don't have to time the market. Just spend time in the market. That's the quiet, boring, beautiful path to $1 million, $2 million, or $4 million. And the best part, anyone can do it. Even if you make $50,000 a year or $100,000 a year, as long as you stay consumer debt free. And this has been another piece of a video, and I hope we got a lot out of it.